Hello, welcome to Sikich Salesforce Live. We are on episode number 15. Just one more episode until this show can drive a car. Today we are going to be talking about the 411 of Salesforce integrations. And to do that, we are going to bring on Justin Davis. But before he is on, I just wanted to be sure to let everybody know we go live twice a week, once on Tuesday, once on Thursday. And if you want to be notified every time we go live, please be sure to like, subscribe, or whatever platform you're on. Just be sure that you get the notifications that are available. The other thing too is, because this is a live show, please leave a question in chat, and we will be able to answer it with our experts live right in the show there. So without further ado, let's bring on Justin. Justin, are you there?
I'm here. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Ryan.
Ready to talk about some Salesforce?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So we are talking about kind of Salesforce integrations, just everything we kind of need to know about it. But let's kind of get into some of the questions that we have.
Sure.
What are the benefits that CRM integrations bring companies?
Sure. Well, the first thing is going to be it's bringing systems together. So if you think about it, in Salesforce, in the CRM, you may have account and contact data, but you need to go in other systems in some cases to look at other data, maybe your ERP or maybe a data warehouse. And so, it's really beneficial to leverage integrations. That way you can bring data into Salesforce or pull data out of Salesforce and, have all of your users and your employees actually, in one less system. So that really is a big goal there.
Now, you work with a lot of companies doing these types of projects. What are some of the benefits that you've seen maybe in the last couple integrations that you've done that have really made like a super impact on these companies?
Sure, absolutely. A lot of the big ones that we see are ERP integrations. Bringing that data from their ERP into their CRM. Also things like order data, so real-time order data, bringing that into Salesforce. That's a big one we see all the time. And a lot of time we pull data out of Salesforce as well for companies to put into their data warehouse. So they may pull data out on a certain frequency from Salesforce, and they'll put into one of their data warehouses to number crunch and get some meaningful results out of it. So that's another big impact there.
Now, on the flip side, what are some problems with lack of integration? What kind of issues do you see cropping up in companies that just haven't taken those steps to make those integrations happen?
Yeah, sure. Well, is kind of what I was hitting on before is, you're asking your employees to work in multiple systems and, possibly, maintain and, work in those multiple systems can be very problematic. Sometimes employees are unclear of, what the system of truth is going to be. And so it's, again, really important that, you can give a single spot for your employees to go and see and consume all that data if possible. So yeah, it's a big win if you can actually pull data into Salesforce and give your users more visibility so they don't have to go into multiple systems.
And it just sounds like eliminating a lot of like inefficiencies that just build up over time, where it's causing all kinds of seen and unseen problems, I'm sure.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Now, what are some other like integrations that that maybe you've seen that some people just might not even like notice or take the time to be like, wow, that's going to really improve the quality of my work life?
Sure. Well, like I was saying before, again, like, ERP is a big one that we have for integrations. We've, worked with other companies that they may have some kind of, a partner system or some kind of third-party application that their customers or partners are always on, and bringing in some of the maybe statistics or datas from different applications or other solutions that company may have, brings a lot of benefit and gives your sales team and other team members inside Salesforce a lot of visibility into what's going on with your customer, and kind of giving that 360 view of your customer there, which is kind of what we're trying to achieve with a CRM. CRM there. Giving your employees one place to go. You can see all the activity going on. You can see ERP related order data, and just that whole big picture you're going for.
And does all this kind of stuff, can it roll up into reporting and things like that, or is it kind of a case by case, like if it matters to you type deal?
Yeah, absolutely. The majority of the scenarios, you definitely can report on it. So if we actually pull the data into Salesforce and put it into what we call, objects or custom objects, you'll be able to do everything you do with all of your other Salesforce data. So you can report on it, you can subscribe to it, and get emailed the reports and all of that good stuff. There is other solutions out there when you do integrations, things like external objects, which is something a little bit different, where you may have a external system that you're required to bring in data, but that data won't be searchable or reportable. It's kind of like a read only type scenario in that case. So that's kind of the external object route.
Gotcha. So doing a little research prior to this, there are a couple different forms of integration. There's batch integration, real-time integration.
Mhm.
Can you explain a little bit about those, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So batch integrations is something we see a lot of. We do see a lot of real-time integrations as well, but a lot of times a batch integration is used when they are looking for a quick, dirty way to bring over data into Salesforce or pull data out, and there is no specific timeline. Like as far as like hey, we need to see this data real time. That's where batch integration would be used, where typically we bring data over to Salesforce, say like on a nightly basis, and we'd pull it out of a separate system with like a CSV file, or tap right into the SQL server, and we'd be able to pull that data over, let's say every night at midnight or every night at 1 a.m., and bring that data into Salesforce, giving your users kind of an updated or refreshed view of that data inside Salesforce. So that's batch integrations. And then, of course, real-time integrations. There's definitely more work setting up a real-time integration, but you're going to get, a lot of benefit there with, instant results, instant data flow back and forth, and batch integrations. I'm sorry, real-time integrations. There's, a lot of upside to as well.
Is there one that's more common than the other for companies?
Yeah, sure. A lot of our bigger companies, they're going to be using real-time integrations, I think, more because, frankly, they're just bigger projects. With a real-time integration, we're deciding, are we pushing data into Salesforce? Are we pulling data out of Salesforce? Are we pushing data into a separate system, or are we pulling data out of a separate system? And so there's a lot of decisions that need to be made in that aspect of, how is data moving? What is our source system of truth? And when we write real-time integrations, typically we will use like Apex, or we will leverage a third-party server-side code, something like PHP, Python, or .NET, and we're actually tapping into the Salesforce API at that point, and passing data back and forth at a real-time level.
And so what are some of the other different options we have kind of regarding CRM integrations and things, where data's flowing there?
Sure, sure. Well, like we were talking about a minute ago, it's batch integrations or it's real-time integrations. That's really what you got to decide. How and when frequency, the frequency of the data is going to be passed back and forth. But the method to achieve that with batch integrations, typically what we do is we go like the Apex data loader route, which is a free tool that Salesforce offers. It's a pretty cool tool that we can actually write some command line scripts on a Windows server or Windows box that will grab a CSV file or tap into a SQL server and then pull that data right into Salesforce, on a certain frequency. And we achieve that with some XML and some batch files on the Windows server. But it's a really efficient and very economical way to capture data and push it into Salesforce. And so that's the most popular method that we see as far as integrations go, is that that batch integration where there's not a need for that real-time data pass. But then when you get to the real time, and if you do have the requirements that data needs to pass back and forth real time or even just one way, um, the things that we look at would be, again, tapping into the Salesforce API using your, code of choice, or something like middleware. Um, Something like a MuleSoft, or Informatica. Those are kind of a third-party paid tools that you can put in the middle, from your two systems, say Salesforce, which is your CRM, and maybe your ERP, and you can have this middleware in the middle that handles all of the data passing back and forth. And so that's another avenue that we see a lot of as well.
And there's a lot of working parts to this. So is
Yeah,
this
there is.
something that you can like me thinking as if I'm a company coming
Yep.
to you, like Sikich, like is this something that I need to do like all at once? Be like, all right, here are like the 5 integrations that I want to have done. Do those need to all be done simultaneously, or does that kind of work
Mhm.
along a project timeline? How does that
Sure.
look integration
Yeah.
wise?
I mean, the business and their requirements are always going to drive, what we're going to do there. But typically, we do not do it all at once. We may go in certain phases. So maybe we'll take, two or three of the 5 data points and, implement that for a first phase, because those might be the most high priority data items that are coming from system A. And then, there might be a system B where, in a later phase we may bring, two other data points and piggyback off of, the work that we set up in that first phase. So we do see a lot of phases a lot. And it's okay to take baby steps, walk before you run. And that would be a good recommendation to, take it slow.
And it sounds like those are some best practices when it comes to integrations. What are some other best practices companies should be looking out for?
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest one for best practices is going to be, setting up a dedicated Salesforce user license. So, a lot of our customers don't realize that, you need a Salesforce user license to pass data back and forth with Salesforce. You have to authenticate with the system. So, when you have an integration set up using, a user license, there's an audit trail there. Anything that integration is creating or updating, is being captured. And so it's important to dedicate a single user license to that integration. That way, exactly what that integration is touching and not touching. Because if you share an integration or a user license with an integration, it really muddies the water as far as, did my end user make this update, or was this an integration update? And that's just not a good place to be in.
One question I had was, we have like all these integrations coming and going, and these are often different systems, often different systems with different update schedules. Like,
Yep.
how often do you need to go and check your integrations to make sure that everything's flowing through okay?
hmm yeah. So typically, what we do is we work with, our customers when we set up an integration, and those integrations, we go about different methods of, having notifications and success and error files, and there's different methods to be notified if, your integration was a success, or if there was any issues with it. So depending on if it's a batch integration or real time, there may be different recommendations of how to go about that. But either way, there definitely is the capability to know, hey, was my integration successful? Was that batch integration that ran last night, did everything come over properly? And you'll be able to see at a line item level, what data records came over successfully and what data records did not.
Fantastic. So, Justin, before we kind of wrap up the show here, is there something that you want to leave everybody with in terms of how Salesforce integrations and CRM integrations, how that all goes, and what you want to leave as kind of the last impression there?
Sure. I think one of the things we did not touch about today is going to be, IDs, external IDs, and things like that. And that's a key factor when talking about integrations. You're taking two separate systems and you're wanting them to talk to each other or bring data, from one system to another. You could cause a lot of problems as far as duplication of data and things like that. And so really one of the things we'll have to identify is, what's going to be the source system of truth, and what IDs are we using from one system to another, making sure there's no, incorrect data being matched or tied to, different places.
Well, thank you. Those are all the questions I had, and you wrapped it up perfectly there, and that
Great.
kind of maybe teases a future episode. I like where that's going.
Great. Yeah. I'm happy to do it.
And so that's it. That's all the time we have today for Sikich Salesforce Live, episode number 15. If you have any questions about what you've heard here today, or maybe you're going through a CRM integration right now and you're wondering what to do next, or things aren't going right, definitely take a look at the URL below, www.sikich.com. Also, if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can use the search bar up top and you could search for Justin's name. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting a message from everybody there.
Yep.
So that's it. Until Thursday, I'm Ryan. And Justin, again, thank you so much. We'll see you all later.